and they can't change their mind. Now, have you had
too
any...
late.
Too late. Have you had any contact with your father since that time? Since you told him that you were working for the Israelis?
The last conversation between me and my father was the eve of publishing my book back in 2010.
I see. And that's when he first learned that you were an agent.
I personally told him I wanted him to hear from me, not from someone
And you didn't
else.
do it in person, of course.
He was in prison. I was in San Diego.
I see. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So it was over the phone. And it was the most difficult phone call I ever made in my life.
Your own father is a mass murderer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not going shooting himself. This is why for him he's not making the connection. But directly, indirectly, he's responsible for so many
deaths.
people's death.
All the deaths.
Yes.
Including of Palestinians, right?
Yes, yeah. And this is why I needed to draw the line. Like, as much as I loved my father growing up, because to me he's my father, and I kept separating his status as Hamas leader and as my father up to October 7. I saw him a couple of days before he was arrested on the top of a demonstration in Ramallah in support of Hamas. And this is when I felt the need to draw the line finally. He disowned me some 14 years ago, and I still consider him as my father. I say he did what he had to do. He will always be my father. I will always honor him. But in that moment, and after it was just a few hours earlier, I watched the massacre, the 47-minute of the attacks. And I was blown away of how far Hamas went into their evil.
Barbarism.
And I was like, this is it. I cannot be my father anymore.
I see.
Like,
that
cannot
was
be.
it.
And also it was the moral dilemma, because I personally, how could we have leverage over Hamas? And I was trying to come up with any solution. How can we pressure them? So one of the ideas that I suggested publicly to Israel and even to the US government is we must take Hamas leaders, put them on a retrial. All those like high-profile terrorists like Abdullah Barghouti, Marwan Barghouti, Ibrahim Hamid, and all the big names that Hamas want to release in return for the innocent hostages, that actually we send them retrial and and say basically, if you don't bring the hostages back, all the names, this 100 most important mass murderers that you want to release would be executed. Mm-hmm. But then between me and myself, I was like, oh, what about Sheikh Hassan Yousef? Is he an exception? And I just, to make things very clear, I said, no exception. That includes Sheikh Hassan Yousef. And, many people thought, it's like, this guy must be insane, going out public, just like, execute my father. But people don't understand how dangerous is this, and where do we draw the line on a scale of morality, spirituality, when we see things going out of control, and genocide, ethnic cleansing of innocent people is about to become legitimate, right. Where people validating the attack and by all lame excuses, and I know more than anyone else.
By any means is what they say. Right.
By any means.
Yeah, one of the problems is, many problems in the world, but one of the big problems in Israel is they don't have the death penalty. It's a shame. They must have the death penalty.
If they had the death penalty, Hamas would have not kidnapped civilians.
That's right.
That's the point is to force Israel to surrender and negotiate with Hamas.
And give up more mass murderers.
Like Sinwar.
Who was given up because of the trade with Gilad Shalit.
Gilad Shalit back in 2011.
Right. You may not remember this, but in 2011, the Hamas had previously kidnapped a young soldier, Gilad Shalit, and held him, 3, 5, 6 years. And through that period of time, Israel was negotiating with Hamas to release Gilad Shalit, and ultimately did. And what they had to do to get one soldier back was release a little over 1,000 Hamas prisoners that were in Israel jails, many of whom had blood on their hands, and one of whom was Sinwar, who planned the October 7th attack and barbarous attack on Israel. You know, negotiating with terrorists should never be done.
I agree.